just wanting to be a participant. And then Steve Payton, you know Steve Payton?
I
Steve
don't.
Payton, president of JALT Fukuoka,
Okay.
sees me and says, "Oh, good, Jose's here. Let's ask him." So apparently they were talking about a question,
Yeah.
and I just showed up and oh, well, what, and then all the questions started coming, and then we did that twice, and then Steve Payton didn't want to do it anymore, but he was getting really busy, and I thought, but there's still so many questions, so many basic questions to be asked by people who've never touched this shit, and that's when I started doing it. And then I thought, this will be a one-off, maybe twice.
Right.
And then twice I did it, and then, by the next Sunday, people go, okay, when's the next one? What's in the next one? And I'm like, what the fuck? People still want to keep doing this. But the strangest thing was the Friday one. I thought, okay, teachers getting drunk on camera, that'll be fun one night.
Yeah.
But there was even more pressure to do that. And now it's a responsibility. I can't let up on it.
Right, like if you if you don't do it, people are going to be, what happened to Jose,
Yeah.
right?
Is he sick? Is he in the hospital? What's wrong? Kind of thing. Yeah, and that's the sort of thing that I think people would probably enjoy hearing. And not only that, it's a community now. People know each other.
Yeah.
And they want to hear the little stories about each other.
Mm.
And they want to, we really should have recorded this, because this would have been like a really great making of video. Too late. Well,
I'm recording it now.
Okay, there you go. Hi.
I think the potential is, like you said, there's people, it's a community now, and people want to get more from it. And one way to get more from it is to give stuff like, I think people might be, you and me talking, then bringing a third person in.
Yeah, third person in, and not just to although there'll be a lot of it at first, because it'll be the first time we're talking to people, but not just congratulating people and patting them on the back, but actually getting to issues.
Yeah, dig into stuff
That we can't really do on Saturday nights, because there are a lot of people who don't understand what's going on, and have to say, no, the share button is that green button down at the bottom, and you don't see eyes glaze over. The people will go, oh, okay, well, I can tune out for 5 minutes because I already know all that stuff, and Jose's going to help that guy. But if it's just the two of us, we can be a lot more focused with that one person or with those two people that are there, and we can talk about things like kids classes, pandemic, becoming a professor and getting a grant and stuff like that.
I think, like, my basic thinking would be like, kind of in a Joe Rogan sense, like wide open, but focused.
Mm-hmm.
If you got somebody coming in who's a vocabulary specialist, then we could pick their brains, and but still get into the current state of affairs, how COVID's affecting teaching, how online's affecting teaching, what are things like at your university. I mean, all of that's, everybody wants to know that stuff. And I stuck a question of the day up there today, which is, how long do you expect to be teaching online?
Oh, I saw that.
Everybody wants to, that's what everybody's thinking about. How long am I going to be doing this for? Some who like it want to do it for longer. Some who don't like it might want to do it for a less amount of time. So, there's a lot of questions out there. I think this format would be awesome.
And we can use the power of Zoom too to let people go in. I don't know if we could do it with a webinar, but basically let people come in, and then when they have a question for the guest, just open up their mic. Not the camera, just their mic, and let them address the guy. And then, I don't know if we'll need a director. There's two of us here, but just because it could get nutty, it starts to get a little bit heated and stuff. But the other thing I wanted to point out too, if we want to get that sort of Joe Rogan feel, that Joe Rogan air, I think that's what we would want to establish in the first couple of episodes between you and me, where nothing is off the script. If you and I get heated, as long as it's functional and it's towards the goal of a Socratic dialogue, that we get something out of it. I think if we establish that, I'm pretty sure there are a whole bunch of podcasts out there on teaching in Japan, but it's a lot of it is the really sort of, I don't want to say airy-fairy, but just a little too lighthearted, really dancing around issues. But if you...
How about the language factor? Because that's a bit edgy with Rogan will curse and swear a little bit.
I like being free to swear.
Right. So this,
People who know me and are on my Saturday
yeah,
sessions know that I swear, so deal with it. I didn't fuck you.
yeah, right. I'm a foul-mouthed little guy too. You know,
Another fist bump. Okay, there you go.
but I wonder, like I was at the last time I joined one of your Saturday nights, I was a little like wondering, like I don't know anybody in this room for this Saturday night session. How would they feel about that? But in the if we set up this that way, tune in or tune out, like it's up to
Yeah,
you, right? If you
yeah,
want to watch the Jose David podcast hour or 30
yeah.
minutes or
Oh
whatever
yeah,
it
we
is.
have to come up with a name. Sometimes that's the hardest part. Is like coming up with a name for. So well, we got to think about it. But yeah, and I think establishing that air in the first few conversations. So I say, let
Mm,
the leash off. You know, you
yeah,
want to swear, swear. Just don't do it
right.
gratuitously or anything. But like I
As you
think,
naturally would if you were describing something. And
yeah, when you're angry about the faculty fucking up your testing or something, you say, yeah, I'm angry about the faculty fucking up my testing or whatever, right?
yeah,
And
I
then
think
people
it
like
could.
that.
I think humans. Yeah, I think the community would like that. It's kind of the current style of the way people do things, right? It's. You know, I'm just listening to a Sam Harris interview today. He's very calm, cool, and collected, but
And he
he's still,
swears.
he's still, yeah, and he's still a bit off script too. Like he goes where the conversation goes with his
Yep,
guest,
yep,
and I
yep.
think that's, you know,
And we follow the same model too. Like if we we parlay this into something that's popular, then we start looking for people who are doing book tours,
yeah,
people who are willing to come on to plug their textbook or to plug their whatever.
mm,
And then we kind of come at them a little from the side, a little bit hard, and tell them that's how we're going to
yeah,
approach this.
yeah,
Then they'll be willing to actually open up a little bit for the sake of being able to talk about their book tour,
yeah,
whatever, right?
yeah, and that would solve the problem of right now on OTJ. I don't really like people pushing their stuff,
Mm,
but in this format, that could be
yeah,
fair game, right?
sure.
If we interview Simon Moran, who has a textbook series or whatever, and his online stuff, in this format, anything goes.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be like a bald-faced push. It's not like, oh, and by the way, buy my textbooks.
Yeah,
Not that.
yeah,
Just that we mentioned Ellen, Simon, and you and I, we're okay, we can make a rule.
yeah,
You and I are the only ones that are allowed to make any kind of a commercial pitch for the guest.
yeah.
Right? The guest can make like some side allusion to it, but they
Mm,
can't say, "Oh, and buy my textbooks." But
yeah,
we'll make an agreement with the guest. We'll make sure that the name of your textbook is put out there, or whatever else that you want, and
yeah,
sit down here with us for 45 or 50 minutes
yeah,
out of the 2 hours that you and I don't know what you're thinking about as a
yeah,
time frame, but I mean, if that was already 25 minutes,
yeah. I would say I measure my life in coma,
uh-huh,
right? As a university teacher, and I liked when they were 90 minutes. They're
yeah.
100 minutes now. But I think 90 minutes you could get something done in a conversation, right?
Hmm. How willing are you to actually diss your faculty or your administration?
Um,
I'm willing to diss my situation. I'm not going to name names, and I don't necessarily have to say the name of my university, but if they know who Jose Cruz is, they're going to figure out what university
oh
I'm
yeah,
talking
when my boss is on OTJ, you know, he's but I'm also a union member of two unions who have been fighting my university for the last year and a bit, and I'm a very outspoken union dude. And they know we all know the issues. My direct bosses are just foreign teachers who are above me. They're full timers, and I'm a part timer. There's things I like about the curriculum, things I don't like about the curriculum. How open I would be about that? I suppose I can be honest without slamming.
about. Hmm.
You know, I have no reason to slam my institution, but if I have a criticism of it, I don't mind saying it.
Then that's basically the way that I feel,
Yeah,
right? That I don't want to, how should I say, I don't want to be playing with kid gloves, but I will be honest in my assessment. And I'm
yeah.
going to take a picture of this conversation, so wave.
Okay.
Um, and maybe we can put that up on OTJ and said, good things coming. There's a nice little teaser.
Yeah.
But yeah, I personally don't mind being honest about when I see shit on the floors. I'm not going to say that's a petunia,
Mm.
shit on the floor, right? And but I'm not gonna be again gratuitous about it. I'm not gonna name names. I'm not gonna be ad hominem. If the policy is public and if the policy is there on their webpage, I'm gonna look at that and say that's a terrible policy.
There's a policy at my university that we're fighting right now, which is outsourcing.
They're outsourcing what to India or something?
No to Berlitz. And we fought it last year. We unionized real quickly a year ago, July when we announced our, and they backed off on that. 2020, they were going to be outsourcing Gabun, which is the fine arts department, a new campus that they built for Gabun only. They had planned to outsource and have Berlitz teachers teaching there from April 2020. But after we unionized, they put those plans on hold and tentatively 2021, but we're fighting that right now. Those are those are good paying coma that we want to keep for ourselves and for people coming down the pipe.
Wow, that's just insane.
Yeah.
That's like if I was a parent at that university, I'd be going, what exactly is motivating this? Is it this?
Yeah. And we've already been in the media over this,
Hmm.
national TV on this. So I don't have a problem talking about that kind of stuff.
Good,
It's
because that's
it's
the
not
kind
the
of stuff that
focus of online learning. It's not the
that's not
focus, but that's fine. If it comes up in a natural way,
exactly.
it comes out the way, the battle I'm fighting.
Yeah. And
Um,
we can keep each other on track on that. Like if one of us goes off on a pet peeve, the
yeah,
other one goes, okay, Jose, that's enough. Let's
yeah.
get back to the
I think
conversation.
that would be good, right? If we could, if and structure a bit of I don't know, structured humor, but like, you know, be,
Yeah,
facilitate each other, but
yeah,
we,
yeah. But
yeah,
basically have that again, that whole we can model a lot of this after Joe Rogan and basically just get that kind of vibe.
yeah,
It'll go where it goes.
yeah.
I know where I want it to go, but if it goes somewhere else and I'm enjoying it, let's go there, kind of thing.
I think it'd be good. I think it's interesting. I've had this idea. You've obviously had some sort of idea along this line. The two of us, I think, it is a bit strange. I mean, I'm the administrator of this group because I started it. I have two moderators, but
Hmm.
I also walk around thinking like, who are the influential people in this group, right?
Hmm.
It's not necessarily me. I just happen to start it in a sense, but it gives me a bit of something, I suppose. And
Hmm.
I think there's a couple of people. There's you, there's Nathan Curtis Gildart.
Gillard, yeah.
He's come out. He come out the bat, and he's really.
Why don't we make a quick
There's a
list?
handful of other people too that.
I want to make a quick list of these people because these are the first people that we're going to want to talk to. And I know that Nate probably would be happy to be on camera
Oh, he'd
because,
love it. He would love
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, Nancy
Um,
Gildart.
I can I can I can find the top contributors through my analysis that I get.
Oh, you can do that. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Let me share a screen for you. Hang on, I'll
Yeah.
pop it up here. It'll just
Yeah.
take a second.
Joe Tomei, I think, would be a really good candidate. He's been posting a lot more lately, and he's a full professor at Kumamoto University.
Yep, yep. He's
So he's
obviously not
Kumamoto, I think, is prefectural, or is that a national university?
not. It's all good
Don't know.
question. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah,
Bill
this.
Pello, I think, would be good.
Yep. It would be nice to get a mixture of like there is a bit of a how can I say this? There's a there's early on. I don't know how many JALT people were actually involved in this. I'm a JALT member, but I'm not a huge participant because I just focus on what I do, my Eikai while my university work and my rock and roll. But it would be nice to be inclusive in terms of
Yeah.
not just focusing on the big dudes
Yeah.
as well, because that that can well,
People who are entertaining and like, for example, I don't want to blow my own horn or anything, but I've always thought I've had something to say.
yeah,
But because of my lack of paper and because of my lack of influence at JOLT, nobody really paid any attention to me, and my papers were never accepted to be given as presentations at JOLT. And we can find those people, the ones who don't have a platform. It's easy.
well, that's what I'd like to get at here, which is I'm also in that camp. In that I've basically 10 years ago I tuned out of all that stuff and focused on my own job and my own work. And I stopped playing that sort of game.
Game.
And
That's a good moment. That's a nice recorded moment.
and I thought, as this group was growing, I thought, like, I want to make sure that, like, I don't want to have to go through your committee to get my paper
Yeah,
published,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Why
But
don't
I
we
think we
make
should.
our own organization?
That was another topic that Bill and our third author Jenny were talking about is the agility that a group like yours displays. How can that be translated into something that can almost compete with standard academic circles like JASIT or JALT without losing its agility? So how do you become an organization that can vet and actually present itself as a scientific filter
Mm.
of good information, of good evidence, but still not get bogged down into, oh, it takes like 3 months to figure out who the next presenter is. And look at JALT, like it took them forever to figure, or they still haven't figured out what they're going to do with 2020, right?
Okay, right,
Yeah.
right.
No,
So
that's the thing we talk about, right?
yeah, and I think the thing about that would be this is COVID's changing everything.
Yeah.
And so why can't COVID change that too?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We don't have to, can we make our own rules? Can OTJ become something that's I'm just trying to find the
Well, it depends on how people start to perceive its validity, its and its function. If its function is just like ERT, which is that it's an emergency and we all have to pull together right now, which I think is the prevailing kind of attitude. But
mm,
if people start to look at OTJ as something more, and OTJ branches out to, like, let's say podcasts, or let's say you actually do, I don't know if you want to pass it off to somebody else, create a publication, even if it's a digital one, just an
yep,
ebook.
yep.
Create a publication for kids teachers. Create a publication for whatever. And if you take the snippets from the videos that I've done and turn that into something, and you start publishing stuff, people will want to get into those publications.
Yeah, well, it would be you'd be getting a, somebody ahead of the publication part of OTJ could. So I mean, I kind of like the idea of, like breaking all the rules, going in there and giving people a chance who maybe have never had a chance before.
Yep,
Let me
exactly.
share this with you. You might find this
Go
quite
ahead.
interesting.
Oh, you're the host, yeah.
See if I can get my share. I got my screen's being split in the wrong way here. Hang on. There we go. Uh,
One skill I'm trying to learn is to not, it's like if I'm going to share something,
don't talk about it while you're doing it.
is to keep talking as I'm setting the share
Yeah,
buttons and then hit the share button just as I'm about to say, okay, now look at this. So
right.
it's tough
Great
because
idea.
like it's like triple multitasking.
Can you
Anyway,
see
so
what we
these,
got up there?
what have
These
we
are the
got
top contributors for the last 28 days. Not including me. Not including me. The administrator's not put in there.
Okay, what's my margin? Oh my God, I'm like nearly 40% more than anybody else. Is that real?
384 comments, 23 posts. So you, Richard Bailey, Richard's been a big contributor. This guy, Steve McGuire. Like this is the
Yep.
core of this Jim.
Yep.
These names I recognize as being there from the beginning.
Yep. Yep.
And
Samantha too. Look, Samantha is great. Have you ever talked to her in the Saturday sessions?
I actually, yes, I think I was in a breakout room with her maybe.
She's got a great personality. She'd be fun in a podcast, I think. Charles would be fun in a pod. The only other thing that we have to worry about is the technical aspect of it,
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't have the better mics. They have just the crappy internal mics on their phones. One thing that we could do though, David,
Yeah.
is I have, well, I don't have an XS, but I have enough of these, my famous.
Yep. The
Yeah,
lavalier. Oh,
yeah.
well,
Now that I've got you here, I don't know if we want to put this on a recording, but we can edit it out. Well, okay, we'll talk about it later.
yeah.
Anyway, these lavalier mics, we
Yeah.
could post these to them with a stamped self-addressed envelope and
Right.
instructions on how to connect it. And I even have a USB adapter that
Right.
we could pass around to people, and that would really improve their sound, right?
Right. Yeah. Because the minute somebody has a weak mic, then the quality of the podcast would just go down.
Everything goes wrong. And like I have I want to. I never get around to it, but I want to every Saturday tell people, put some lamps on your face. I know it's really hard at first. Put some lamps on your face and get yourself a proper audio setup,
Yeah.
whatever that means for your
Right.
situation.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
just,
right now I'm using a MacBook Pro, and I think the audio is quite
oh, it's great. It's
reasonable.
great.
You know,
Also, too, the acoustics of the room are so important, but you know that because you listen to your own audio,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No, the room I'm recording, the room, no, the probably the best room in my house would be the tatami room downstairs.
Ah,
And
that would be good. Yeah,
well, I
that would.
used to record there, but I got kicked out by my wife.
Mm.
So I had to move upstairs. But we ended up, our dog's getting old, so we end up all sleeping downstairs together. That's
That's so cute. That's so
so.
cute. Yes, you moved for your dog. That's so
So I
sweet.
moved. Everything's for the dog. Everything's for the dog. So
Well, Bill Pello is right after Charles, Joe Tomei, and he had a bit of a handicap because he's really only started posting in the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
yeah, he joined relatively recently.
But I can't get over the fact that I'm like, well, actually, in terms of posts, I'm not that far ahead of Richard Bailey, but in terms of comments,
Comments.
taking up all the oxygen in the room.
Yeah. Well, this is what one of the members I had a little bit of a conflict with over what was going on. I commended him on the fact that you're a great contributor to the forum. So,
Why? Was somebody bitching about me or something?
no, they're bitching about me.
Oh,
Because I was bitching to them about bitching to somebody else, and no, they weren't bitching. They were just they left inadvertently. They left a comment that maybe was accidentally put in the wrong place, but it appeared to be making fun of the person who was posting. And I got a post, David, please look at this. It doesn't look good. The poster's feeling bad. They think this person's making fun of them. So I had to approach the person, and maybe I didn't handle it so well, but the key point is that person actually is a contributor to the site.
Right.
And so, like, whatever, we agreed to disagree on it, and left it.
Yeah, and that is inevitable. I mean, I'm sure you knew that was going to happen when you started taking on administrative duties for a group like this,
I didn't.
especially when it hit like 500. What did you think you would hit as a group membership number?
I
Now that it's,
didn't, honest to God, I didn't even think about it. All I thought was 2 weeks before I started it, I had to organize a union meeting. I knew nothing about Zoom, but I heard about it through the Eikaiwa chapter that I'm involved in. And so I said to the union guys, hey, I'll get us up to speed on Zoom. We'll do the meeting on Zoom. I'm not going into Tokyo for a meeting. So a week later, we did that. And then we hadn't yet heard that the university was going online, but I was pretty suspicious that it would. And I just thought, I put my rock and roll band experience, because I have groups for my rock band, and I thought, I'll make a Facebook group because I need to learn. That was it. I didn't think,
you're still sharing.
I hope we can get 500
You're still
members. I hope we
sharing
can
that.
get,
You're still sharing your screen, by the way.
oh, thank you.
Okay.
Stop doing that.
500, eh?
And I didn't even think numbers. And then, wow, this thing's growing. That's interesting. Wow, and wow, people are digging this. Wow, I really didn't know. And like, wow, after the first week, I did a wine at 9 on Friday night, I called it.
Oh yeah.
9 o'clock, I had a glass of wine, and 5 or 6 people were, maybe, I don't know, there's like 20 people or something. I didn't even think of breakout rooms. And then, boom, you were doing stuff. And boom, okay, Saturday night was you. And like, okay, I'm just joining that. And then it just grew and it grew and it grew. And it was thrilling as it was happening, honestly, because like, wow, this is cool. And then it got to, I think 1,000 was kind of when I was kind of psyched a little bit. Wow, 1,000 is pretty cool. And people were sending me messages, Dave, that's great. I was talking to my friends, and they're saying, hey, man, that's cool. And then the last 500 has been work.
Well, that's where it starts to get really, I think, work, because it's not like the initial 100, 300 or so people will be the people who want to do work with you.
Yeah.
And then from there, you get this medium level quality of participation, and then you get people who want to lurk, who just want to hang around for something as simple as hesitation. They hesitate to like say anything because they don't know if they're an expert or not.
Yeah.
But that creates more work because there aren't as many people who are willing to pull the sled with you. They want to be on the sled riding, right?
Yeah. That's an interesting way to think about it, and I guess it's fair enough. I mean, part of me has had this idea of put out a Google form and just ask people if you really want to stay in the group or not. And if you don't, but as long as people aren't causing trouble,
Yeah.
then the more the merrier.
Yeah. Besides,
Uh,
what would you do with that information? Kick them out? You wouldn't kick them out, would you?
well, they could have the option of leaving if they'd like or whatever, right? Like, but it's not. It's just the last few days has been a little bit like, whoa, is this because it's too big, or is this because it's just I got to learn to manage it better? I mean, so
Well, you've had like, um, what's the word I'm looking for? You're a little disappointed with the last week with OTJ or something?
when a conflict comes up,
Uh,
you question things,
uh,
or
uh,
I tend to question things. How much, especially when you're busy doing other things, but you can't let it go. You can't just let this thing slide. OTJ just can't slide down the. So okay, it requires my attention. How much of my attention? Is this what I signed up for? If there's people here who don't want to be here, you go through all kinds of questions. How can I manage this? But what I did last night is in the middle of the night, I got up and I did some research on managing a Facebook group.
oh,
I got some ideas
good.
and on how to do it better. And so it's a learning experience. But I didn't expect it. And to your question originally, which was, what did you think when you hit 500? But like I didn't plan it. I just knew I needed something to help get myself up to speed. And if it was true for me, I guess it would be true for other people. I didn't even think beyond that. Like if 10 people had joined, I guess that would have been fine because I don't know.
You could still talk to each other, get something for yourself out of it, and so could they. Even if it was 10. If everybody was pulling the sled, why not?
Yeah. But as it turns out, it's a formative group. It's a formidable group. People have been really, really contributing a lot. As you can see by the 10 contributors, the 10 top contributors.
Hmm.
There's many more.
Yeah,
Uh,
and there's sometimes you get like people who only post once, but like it was a really good post,
yeah,
or they only post once, but they're an influencer in other circles, I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
and that really creates like what's the word? There's so many things so many ways to describe what we're watching, this phenomenon that is OTJ and even COVID, that it's hard to actually think of the words if you try to put them into words,
Mm.
because you haven't yet and you've never encountered this kind of phenomenon.
And this is part of hopefully, I don't know, maybe this is part of the post-COVID change in society.
I would
How
like
things,
that.
you know, and that's here we are. We're just
And I think the more we sort of look towards the future for people
mm,
and help them in the sense that we take a risk and say, I think this is where this is going to go. We've been thinking about it a lot, so I think this is where it's going to go. So why don't we try to go there ahead for you, be your
mm,
pioneers?
yeah.
And they go, hey, those guys are going in a good path. Then we can tell that by the number of people who jump on. And that's why you can tell that you've done something good. Because when people say to their friends, hey, there's a really good website called OTJ,
Mm,
it's not only that their friend, like me, every time when I did Niigata and Niigata and Tokyo and then JALT Hokkaido, I said, listen, this is all because of OTJ. You guys should join up too. Then they go in, then they see the real proof of the pudding. It wasn't
mm,
just my recommendation, but it was a recommendation of someone trusted, and then it was the actual meat of the matter.
yeah.
That is what people believe in, and then you can again parlay that into something else, which is what we're going to try to do here, right?
Which is awesome.
Yep.
Very awesome.
Mm. Okay, man. So tell you what. Well, let's make a schedule, how do we communicate? Just by email? I find email kind of stuffy, and also that's almost like a domain for my kids to talk to me now. I don't like answering email, though I will. And I want it to be kind of fun and light and quick. And also to Facebook, if we make like even just a small Facebook group between you and me,
Yep.
or anyone else who wants to get involved in the podcast as a learning experience,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's exactly one of the suggestions that I read last night about managing a Facebook group is the administrators they should have their own Facebook group apart from the group itself, because that's the best way to communicate with each other, and it leaves a history of what you've been talking
Yeah,
about. So
that's
if some new person comes in, but
a good point.
as for the beginning of this podcasting, we should make a podcast page or a podcast
Okay,
group,
leave it up
and
to me. I'll do that.
we should think of a name.
Oh, that'll be hard. For now I'll just call it David and Jose. Nice and alphabetical,
Yeah,
nice and simple, and we'll come up with the name later.
yeah.
Okay, and
David
I'll
and
invite you
Jose
in.
OTJ. I don't know the David and Jose OTJ podcast or the David and Jose whatever podcast.
The David and Jose experience.
Let's let that stew.
Let's let that fester. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll take it
I'll
from there.
make the private page, and from there we can start pulling in stuff from all over the internet. That's what Facebook is great at.
Yeah.
We'll be able to converse in there in private, and consider too, like we're both really busy guys.
Yeah.
Something's gonna have to give in terms of my Friday or Saturday sessions,
Mm.
and I think it'll be easier to just hand off Friday to somebody else
Yeah.
because it's really just a bunch of drunks, right?
Yeah.
And then if you and I make like um, Friday sessions start at 8 o'clock. So if you and I get together maybe about 6:30 or 6:30, 7 o'clock,
Mm.
we hash out our ideas for the week
Yeah.
podcast, and you and I can throw ourselves right back into Friday if you feel like it or not, right? Because it'll be
Yeah.
on a
Probably Friday's a good night.
good day for you. Okay. So if nothing else, I'm going to have that podcast page up probably by Tuesday or so.
Okay.
Communicate there, but let's say something like around 6:30, like this.
Yeah.
Just thinking about things, and maybe we can even start recording. I'll dust off my mixer and my audio tech,
Yep.
and yeah, will you be able to dust off your good mic for that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's all ready to go. I could get it ready in 30 seconds. Just
What do I got here? Is this it's an M Tech, right? Oh, sorry, it's an M Audio. It's an M Audio mixer, USB mixer.
Okay. Yeah.
It's all the cables are back there. I can't show you, but it'll be fine. I've tested it out before, and I've got my other Audio Technica. We'll just plant on my desk, and then we'll just do it from there.
It'll be
It's
good.
a lot of it is testing.
Yeah. Say that again.
It's just we're going to do a lot of testing because I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
see how it goes in there. But I think these making of recordings will be fun.
Yeah. This is great. And so yeah, do you think here's a question. Do you think we can think about this as we head towards Friday, but do you think 90 minutes is too long for a first episode, or just let it
It's
rip?
now 47 minutes, and it feels like 15.
Yeah.
Do you have a timer on your Zoom?
I do 48. Yeah, I do
You know?
48, 43.
Well, that's because it started when you started the room.
Yeah.
And mine says 47. It doesn't matter. 45 minutes, and it feels like 15, right?
Yeah.
And if we keep this light, if we keep this informative, if we keep this passionate, it'll feel like 15 for the audience too.
Right. Yeah.
On the other hand, you really feel Zoom time when you turn off the camera. And you're rubbing your eyebrows and you feel like you're dehydrated. So let's not tax ourselves too hard.
Right.
If people are going, man, you cut out that conversation too soon. You should have kept going. If we actually get that voice, then yeah, why not?
So maybe an hour would be good,
I think an hour is good for now.
or 50 minutes, like a Kaiwa lesson.
And then we'll test out the waters. If we get a really cool guest and we go, listen, let's just take off the time limit for now and let's see how far it goes and let's see how we feel. You got a lot to talk about, and Dave and I want to ask you a lot of questions. So how's that for you? They go, yeah, sure. Let's see what happens this afternoon and bang it.
I noticed one of the things that what's his name, Sam Harris does when he posts his podcast is he puts a little preview after the recording. He just talks about what you're gonna hear today in today's podcast with
Yeah.
so and so.
Oh, I love that.
We talked about this,
Yeah.
this, and this. And today was a particularly long one, but a valuable one. So you're
Yeah.
gonna want to stay like that kind of thing could give audience members a heads up when they come and click on the podcast. The other thing would be is getting this podcast published not only on OTJ but in a real podcast.
A real podcast, yeah. And so that begs the question, do we want to go video all the time, or we want to make a video version and an audio version?
Well, when you record with Zoom, you get a video version and an audio version.
Isn't that the coolest thing? Okay, so
Here's another thing. I don't know if you're doing that, but I just started doing it on Monday. I'm hooked up via LAN cable,
yeah.
going out my second floor balcony, down the balcony, into the kitchen, into the
Into the router.
to the router. But I started last we using it up in the countryside in my cabin, and it's much better signal. You don't get any interruption, and that's if
I I keep telling people this, and they're going, "Yeah, but then you gotta have a cable on the floor."
yeah,
And I go, "Okay, you don't quite get what I'm saying."
yeah,
But yeah, well, I totally agree with you, man. Like I got Wi-Fi. I got two Wi-Fi routers in the house, and I
yeah,
don't like using them because I can feel the slowdown.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they're really only there for convenience. And like if I got to go to the
Right.
kitchen because
Sure.
something's
Right.
burning, but don't
Yeah.
want to lose this stream or whatever. But otherwise, totally
Yeah.
plug in the cable. Have you got just the notebook? Have you
For
got
the
the PowerBook?
I've got a 27-inch
Okay,
MacBook
so
Mac.
you and I have basically the same setup. And when I have my notebook next to the iMac,
Yeah.
the notebook is almost always connected by Thunderbolt to the iMac, so that then the iMac shares the LAN connection by Thunderbolt
Okay,
to the
that's how you're doing it.
yeah.
Okay, I bought the
Techie
adapter.
shit too. Oh man, we can do techie shit too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're kind of techie with audio, and I'm very techie with Macs and shit.
Yeah.
We can do techie shit.
Yeah. I think people will dig this. This is good. Let's give it a go. It's worth a go, right? It's not going to hurt us. Do it for.
I'm absolutely excited to do it. I want to do it as part of the research that I first proposed to you. And so I think the first 2 or 3 episodes will just be about our origins.
Okay.
What brought us to Japan, what got OTJ going, and I'll get questions from my cohorts, Bill and Jenny, and get them questions for this, and I think it's going to be great, and we'll move forward with it, man.
Beautiful.